Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnana-shalakaya Chakshurunyatam yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sadhikam yena Uttare Swayam Rupa Ramaya Dadati Swahantikam Mandeham Shri Guru Shri Shri Guru Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupa Sagrajatam Sadhana Raghunatam Vidham Satinam Sadgaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Kshetra Swami Radha Krishna Padam Sadhana Lalita Shri Shahambitam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Kshetra Srimate Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurani Vrajadhāma Nirvishesha Shunavadi Paschatvaishashari Mancha Papacharukyascha Vipasiduya Evacha Aditanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagapate Gopesha Gopirana Radha-Namaste Takkakamsha Yorami Radhe Radha-Krishna Vishnu-Sudevi Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Śrīvāsadi Gaura Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudīraya Nashta Pradesh Varadeshu Nityam Bharata Sevayam Bharata-uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Dantaraja Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai anukṛtavatyaḥ Ki Jai Actually, I think we can. Well, no, you can take it. Okay. Dobro jutro. Kako ste vi?
Dobro smo mi. Kako ste vi?
Dobro smo mi. Okay. Oh, I feel some great fortune to be here with this opportunity. There's a little bit of an echo in this. To be here with all of you to share some reading of Srimad Bhagavatam. I also feel some tribulation. I always feel this when there's a bigger group and devotees are expecting something. You know, a mouse coming out of the Himalaya is what might be what happens. Since our theme of this retreat is remembering Krishna, Krishna Smarana, I've chosen a verse from the first canto, one of the prayers of Bhishma, a rather surprising prayer, in which he is remembering the Lord. All of his prayers, he's remembering the Lord, and it's kind of ironic, perhaps, that as he's remembering the Lord is personally present. He's, I don't know, is he standing? I guess he's standing. Is he standing?
It's described like that.
It's described like that, yeah. I was trying to remember, about 4 years back, I visited Kurukshetra. Who has visited Kurukshetra? Some of you? Yes. There's a temple, there's various temples, and in one temple there's a kind of diorama behind glass showing Bhishma Deva lying on the bed of arrows, and he's wearing pegged shoes. So his feet are up like this, and he's wearing pegged shoes. What do you call them? It's sort of, it's wood. It's not wood. It's not bamboo. Anyway, and the 5 Pandavas are all there, and everyone is hearing from Bhishma Deva, but then he's offering these prayers to Krishna. And this one is, you'll see, it's quite surprising that it's Bhishma Deva who's speaking this. The meter of this verse, I was not able to find the name of it. It's an interesting meter with 12 syllables in the first and the third line, and 13 syllables in the second and the fourth line. So, what is the best way to chant this? I hope I will learn. Maybe one or more of you can illuminate. But let's give it a try. Let's take it one word at a time first. I can repeat. This, by the way, is Canto 1, Chapter 9, verse number 40. Lalita-gati-vilāsa-valguhāsa valgu-hāsa, praṇaya-nirīkṣaṇa-kalpitorumānāḥ, kṛtam, anukṛtavatya, unmada-andhāḥ, prakṛtim, agan, kila, yasya, gopa-vadhvaḥ, lalita-gati-vilāsa-valguhāsa, lalita-gati-vilāsa-valguhāsa, praṇaya-nirīkṣaṇa-kalpitorumānāḥ, praṇaya-nirīkṣaṇa-kalpitorumānāḥ, kṛtam anukṛtavatya unmada-andhāḥ, kṛtam anukṛtavatya unmadāndhāḥ, prakṛtim agan kila yasya gopa-vadhvaḥ, prakṛtim agan kila yasya gopa-vadhvaḥ. Others?
Lalita-gati-vilāsa-valguhāsa, praṇaya-nirīkṣaṇa-kalpitorumānāḥ, anukṛtavatya unmadāndhāḥ, prakṛtim agan kila yasya gopa-vadhvaḥ,
You can do it. Don't be shy. The men are too shy. Ladies. Okay. More shy. They're showing their good quality of shyness. Madhavanand.
lalita-gati-vilāsa-valguhāsa,
lalita-gati-vilāsa-valguhāsa,
Krishna Kshetra. It's hard for me to see.
lalita-gati-vilāsa-valguhāsa, praṇaya-nirīkṣaṇa-kalpitorumānāḥ,
Very nice. Okay. Lalita, attractive. Gati, movements. Vilāsa, fascinating act. Valgu-hāsa, sweet smiling. Praṇaya, loving. Nirīkṣaṇa, looking upon. Kalpita, mentality. Urumānāḥ, highly glorified. Kṛtam anukṛtavatya, in the act of copying the movements. Unmada-andhāḥ, gone mad in ecstasy. Prakṛtim, characteristics. Agan, underwent. Kila, certainly. Yasya, whose. Gopa-vadhvaḥ, the cowherd damsels. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. This is Bhishma speaking. Let my mind be fixed upon Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa, whose motions and smiles of love attracted the damsels of Vrajadhāma, the gopīs. The damsels imitated the characteristic movements of the Lord after his disappearance from the rāsa. Purport. By intense ecstasy and loving service, the damsels of Vrajabhumi attained qualitative oneness with the Lord. By dancing with him on an equal level, embracing him in nuptial love, smiling at him in joke, and looking at him with a loving attitude. The relation of the Lord with Arjuna is undoubtedly praiseworthy for devotees like Bhishma Deva. But the relation of the gopīs with the Lord is still more praiseworthy because of their still more purified, loving service. By the grace of the Lord, Arjuna was fortunate enough to have the fraternal service of the Lord as chariot driver. Fraternal, you know that word? Friends. Fraternal service of the Lord as chariot driver, but the Lord did not award Arjuna with equal strength. Bhishma's aspiration to remember the gopīs is a prayer to have their mercy also at the last stage of his life. Or to have their mercy also at the last stage of his life. The Lord is satisfied more when his pure devotees are glorified, and therefore Bhishma Deva has not only glorified the acts of Arjuna, his immediate object of attraction, but has also remembered the gopīs, who were endowed with unrivaled opportunities for rendering loving service to the Lord. You know the word unrivaled? Without competition. Topmost, Prabhupada would often say. The gopis' equality with the Lord should never be misunderstood to be like the Sayuja liberation of the impersonalists. The equality is one of perfect ecstasy, where the differential conception is completely eradicated. You know the word eradicated? Wiped out, removed. Very good. You know English better than I do. Completely eradicated, for the interests of the lover and the beloved become identical. And so ends Srila Prabhupada's purport to this quite amazing verse. It would be nice to spend time exploring the context of this, to see how Bhishma's prayers, what his prayers are prior to this and after this. Suffice to say that, Bhishma is a warrior, and he's remembering this condition, this situation. It's still some echo here. It's the acoustics. We can't do anything about it.
If you speak closer to the mic and they put the volume down.
Oh, speak close to the microphone. Yes, sir. Okay. The microphone will not bite. Yes. That Bhishma Dev is in this very special condition. He is preparing to depart the world, and he has an audience. So many are listening to him. What we're getting in the Bhagavatam is an extreme summary of what Bhishma Dev is speaking extensively in the Shanti Parvan of the Mahabharata. And then we get this surprise prayer in which he's addressing Krishna, but he's remembering Krishna's most dear devotees in this wonderful way, in this intimate way. And this intimacy that is described here is including, implied at least, according to the commentators, including some activities of the gopis during the rāsa dance, or rather in the time when the rāsa dance has been, we might want to say, interrupted, when Krishna has suddenly, without warning, without explanation, with nothing, he has suddenly disappeared. And when he has disappeared, all of these gopis who have, and this is an important consideration, all of the gopis have left everything behind. They have burned the bridges behind, we say in English. Do you have some saying like that in Serbia and Croatia? To burn the bridges behind you. Yes, no, maybe.
We not burn, we just crush it.
You just smash the bridge. You destroy the bridge. Okay. You throw a bomb on the bridge, right? Ooh. Careful what we say. All right. So the gopis have left everything just to run to Krishna, and now what happens? Krishna has left. Now what? And so, of course, they go searching for him. And do they find him right away? No. They search and they inquire from all of the living beings, moving and non-moving in the forest. Still no Krishna. And then what do they do? Let's find out what they do. Can we change now? Where is our Vadhvaḥ? No, we don't. Here he is. He knows what we want. Look how he has just danced his way. That was quite something. We should have had this on video. Yes, thank you. let's go to the translation. Okay, because I don't have it here. Having spoken these words, the gopis have spoken amongst themselves. They've spoken to the various beings. And then, having spoken these words, the gopis, distraught from searching for Krishna, began to act out his various pastimes, fully absorbed in thoughts of him. Those of you who are taking part in our workshop, our play shop about drama, you may catch my drift here, that I want to highlight that the gopis are the sort of perfect model of what we are talking about and considering in our play shop, so to say. Having spoken these words, the gopis, distraught from searching for Krishna, began to act out his various pastimes, fully absorbed in thoughts of him. Can we see the next verse? The translation? One gopi imitated Putana, while another acted like infant Krishna and pretended to suck her breast. Another gopi, crying in imitation of infant Krishna, kicked a gopi who was taking the role of the cart demon, Shakadashura. Yesterday we spoke in our seminar about imagination. We are being invited as we read these verses to imagine what's going on. The gopis are remembering. Have they seen these pastimes themselves? They've heard about them. Having heard about them, now they are performing them. They're performing them according to their imagination of how Krishna is doing. But if we go back to the verse from Bhishma, we understand there's an equality. It's explained by the commentators. Krishna has given everything of his qualities to the gopis. Everything is presumably also knowledge of his pastimes. And so in that spirit, they are able to, the word used is imitate. Now here's an interesting question. Is there a difference between imitation and copying? What do you think? Yes? There's a difference, huh? There's a difference. What is the difference?
In imitation, you put your person.
Imitation, you put yourself.
Yes.
And copy is, we say in English, copycat. Monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah.
Do you say like that in Serbian?
Not like
Majmun radi što majmun vidi. Majmun radi što majmun vidi.
that.
Mainu
Majmun radi
Radi plays.
što majmun
Što majmun
Vid. See.
vidi.
Da, vid.
Što majmun vidi.
Vid.
Vidi. Oh yeah, video, right. Yeah, so let's continue with verse 16. One gopi took the role of Trinavarta and carried away another who was acting like infant Krishna, while yet another gopi crawled about, her ankle bells tinkling as she pulled her feet. Okay. Picture that. And verse 17. Two gopis acted like Rama, that means Balarama, and Krishna, in the midst of several others who took the role of cowherd boys. So now we have the cowherd girls playing the part of cowherd boys. One gopi enacted Krishna's killing of the demon Vatsasura, represented by another gopi, and a pair of gopis acted out the killing of Bakasura. Now, this reminds me, taking the role of cowherd boys, that in Vrindavan there is a wonderful tradition of performance of Krishna Lila. It's called Ras Lila, and its meaning inclusive not just of rasa dance, but all of the pastimes of Krishna. And these are all performed by boys, including the parts of the girls. So the gopīs are all actually boys. And Shrimati Radharani is a boy, a little boy, dressed as Radharani. And they're very well dressed, and they're very young, and so you kind of forget that they are boys when you see these gopis. And this is relevant to the point about Bhishmadev's expression about this equality of Krishna and the gopis. That in these performances in Vrindavan, it will invariably be the case that at the end of the performance, Radha and Krishna, the two boys, will sit on a throne as Radha and Krishna. They will sit, and all of the audience will come up on the stage, and they will offer worship to these boys. Because the understanding is that the stage has become a sacred space in which Krishna and his associates have appeared. And the audience are witnessing this performance, which is a reenactment. It's an acting again of Krishna's pastimes. Krishna is present. And in that spirit, they come and they worship. They offer flowers, and they will offer donations, and like that. It's very sweet. Yes, and the next one, verse 18. When one gopi perfectly imitated how Krishna would call the cows who had wandered far away, how he would play his flute, and how he would engage in various sports, the others congratulated her with exclamations of, "Well done, well done, sadhu, sadhu." And one more, verse number 19. Another gopi, her mind fixed on Krishna, walked about with her arm resting on the shoulder of a friend, and declared, "I am Krishna. Just see how gracefully I move." So this is all going on in the forest while the gopis are feeling what? Feeling separation. They're feeling the absence of Krishna, and they can't tolerate this feeling of absence. And so what do? They become Krishna, in effect. They imitate, they enact, they reenact his pastimes. And so, a little point that I want to make here is that we're speaking about remembering. And by the way, in English, the word remember, you can think about it in this way. It's remember. Member can mean a part, like a part of the body. So if we were, I guess I will, If we were to think of the Purusha Sukta hymn, we would remember that this hymn is describing about the dismemberment of Purusha. What? Yes, he's being chopped up, so to say, or rather, the different parts of his body are being separated out, and they are becoming all the different forms of the universe. That's the description of creation in the Rig Veda. He's the Lord, well, Purusha, as he's described, or Prajapati, he becomes dismembered. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in effect, as he is dancing in Ratha Yatra, he almost becomes dismembered as his dancing, his ecstasy, his remembering of Krishna causes his limbs to extend out, to elongate. They stretch out. It's said that the shoulders become dislocated. He stretched, in any case, a kind of something like dismemberment. Remembering is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is doing as he is dancing in the Ratha Yatra. And remembering is what the gopis are doing when they are feeling the separation of Krishna, who has just departed from them. And this remembering is happening in a group. It's happening together. It's also happening as a performance. They are performing devotional service. Srila Prabhupada many times spoke about bhakti as performing devotional service. So they're performing devotional service by remembering Krishna, bringing Krishna back through their imitations of Krishna. And this is all happening. They're doing all of this in a physical way. They're physically acting out. This is the point that I want you to consider. As Sachinandan Swami would say, my dear devotees, please think about this. Now I'm imitating Sachinandan Swami. I'll get in trouble for that. You cannot imitate. Let's think about this for a moment. What is happening here? The gopis are remembering Krishna. And how are they remembering? They're remembering, number one, in a group, not alone. Number two, they are performing their remembrance. As they act, they are remembering Krishna. It's unfolding as they act. And third, what was the third point? They're doing it in a physical way. They're physically acting, yes. Srila Prabhupada would say this is a movement for chanting, dancing, taking prasadam, right? These are physical activities, and we can remember by doing these activities, but we can also remember by remembering, because we may think, it's really hard for me to really remember Krishna. I have so many things that keep me occupied throughout the day. And I know Krishna says to Arjuna that one should remember him and at the same time fight, or fight and at the same time remember him. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam manusmara yudya cha. The cha, what is that little word cha? That's one Sanskrit word you all know. What does it mean? Also, and, yes. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu. What means kala? Time. Sarva kala means all time. Sarveshu kaleshu means during all time. What should one do? Mam anusmara. What means anusmara? Remember. Not just remember once, but ongoing remember. Anusmara, anusmara. And yudhya. What does yudhya mean? Fight. Does that mean we should all jump up and grab some weapons and run out and find somebody to fight? No. It means we should engage in our duties, whatever our duties are. We have so many duties, and they certainly keep us occupied, or rather preoccupied, right? But Krishna is saying, remember also me at the same time. How to do that? How to do that? I want to suggest an image for you, and let's see if this works. You've all seen the film Matrix?
Yes.
Almost everyone says yes, I've seen it. What does the word matrix mean? Huh? Grid? Well, it could be a grid, yes. Sample? No, not a sample. What is a matrix? A matrix is, it's a feminine form, actually, literally. It's a mother. Yeah, of course it can be matrix like that, but a matrix is also a form into which molten metal or some other material is poured. Huh?
Forging. Yeah.
For forging, yes. And then the matrix, after the metal, whatever, is cooled, if we're casting a deity, that casting process requires a matrix. You pour in the metal cools, and then the matrix is broken. And it's a mold. Yes. That's a matrix. So what is our practice of Krishna consciousness? It is a making of a matrix of remembrance. It's a matrix of remembrance. Our whole culture we can think of as a matrix of remembrance. It's a place in which all of our energy can enter, and from this we can allow ourselves to be formed, and then with that form we can ongoing, anusmara, we can remember Krishna always. That is what we can do. We've been reading about the gopīs remembering and imitating Krishna. So our theme is remembrance, and I'm saying let's try to imagine an analogy of a matrix into which we are forming our practice of Krishna consciousness. And for the gopīs, their situation is that Krishna has departed temporarily, and they are remembering him. They are bringing Krishna back through their actions, through their behavior with each other, and through their imitation of Krishna. Now we will say, well, I'm not a gopi. Bhishma is not a gopi. How is it that Bhishma is remembering the gopis? Bhishma is remembering Arjuna, who is present, and he's remembering his relationship with Krishna, and he is appreciating that relationship. What is that relationship? It's one of sakya, it's friendship. And he's seeing how wonderful that is. And he's appreciating that. And then he's seeing there's another relationship. It's even more intense. It's so intense that there is a kind of absolute equality in quality. Equality in quality of Krishna and the gopis. And out of this, what is emerging? An enactment by the gopis of Krishna's pastimes, in which Krishna becomes present. Now, we say, I can't remember Krishna. Then what to do? Remember those who remember Krishna. I can't remember Krishna, but I can remember Srila Prabhupada. He was always remembering Krishna. He is always remembering Krishna. Incidentally, you may not know, in English language there are over 53 books written by devotees who are remembering in their books, remembering Srila Prabhupada. 53 books remembering Srila Prabhupada. There's probably more by now. So we can remember Srila Prabhupada remembering Krishna. We can remember devotees remembering Srila Prabhupada remembering Krishna. And we can remember the devotees in our Shastras remembering Krishna. And in particular, and especially, we can remember Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how he is remembering Krishna. And the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's remembrance, his realization. He's bringing together all that he has been hearing from the Goswamis, Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Sanatana Goswami, Srila Jiva Goswami, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami especially. Rupa and Raghunath, he is praying to them at the end of each chapter of his Chaitanya Charitamrita. He is expressing what they have all collectively in Vrindavan over so many years realized. They have realized who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is none other than Krishna. He is none other than Krishna in a very special mood. He's in the mood of the devotee of Krishna who is feeling separation from Krishna. They are realizing this, and they are expressing this in all of their writings. And they're expressing this so that we can have this understanding, this realization as well. They're saying, oh, actually, it's Krishna who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There were so many Supreme Personalities of Godhead, but it was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who made it clear to Sanatana Goswami that, yes, there are so many Supreme Personalities of Godhead, but there is one in particular who is the original. Ete Chansa Kala Pumsa Krishnas Tu Bhagavan Swayam. And it is in this way Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is enacting, he is living the life of the devotee of Krishna, demonstrating and showing how it is through his remembrance of Krishna, but also through his engagement And most especially, we can say, through his interactions with all the devotees, praising some devotees, correcting other devotees, drawing out the realization of devotees, learning from devotees. He tells Vallabhacharya one time, I am so grateful how much I have learned from this devotee, this devotee, this devotee. And he tells in detail how he has learned from each of these different devotees. So like this, we have this fortune of having sort of stumbled upon, perhaps, this great matrix of Krishna consciousness as presented, as given to us in the form, matrix means a form, it's a mold of all of the facilities that we have, all of the literature that Srila Prabhupada has given us, all of the procedures, the practices, the Shravanam, the Kirtanam, the Vishnu Smaranam, the teachings of of Prahlad Maharaj, of Ambarish Maharaj, of Gajendra, of all the different devotees, of Arjuna. We can remember how Arjuna remembers Krishna after Krishna departs. And we can remember how devotees remember how the devotees remember Krishna. If we cannot remember ourselves Krishna, then we can remember the devotees of Krishna, how they remember Krishna. But we can also remember Krishna, isn't it? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We can chant his names. We have that capacity, we have that power, it's been given to us. And we can take the responsibility for ourselves. We can take charge of our spiritual lives as the late His Holiness Kadamba Swami has written, has spoken. Take charge of your spiritual life. You know that expression, to take charge? It's like, okay, now I'm going to take responsibility. Take charge. We can take charge of our spiritual life. We can, having taken charge, we can do something for Krishna. But this acting for Krishna is also enacting and remembering. It's already kind of late, but if you'll allow me, if you'll indulge me, I would like to invite you to sing something with me, which I find very inspiring, and this will be an experiment. And I can use the harmonium now. Do we have a few minutes to try to sing a song which some of you know? Which I think is also a nice way to remember the Lord and how it is that it is possible for everyone to be involved. This is a song, we don't know the author, perhaps some research will reveal. It's a song in Vrajadhāma language. And it's an invitation. Essentially, it's an invitation for anyone and everyone, no matter what your situation, to chant the names of the Lord. In this case, because this comes from the Vrajadhāma temple tradition, they're being a little bit, maybe a little sectarian, but it's the content of the song is just the opposite of that. It's inviting everyone to join in this praise the Lord, as the Christians say, Amen. Yes. Okay, let's see if we can do that. Deshave Hari Desha Mera Ho. Please chant. Jesus Hari Desha Mera Ho. Radha whichever country you live in, however you dress, whatever culture you may adopt, just chant Radharaman, Radharaman, Radharaman. Whichever holy place you may live in, whatever work you do, whatever name you go by, just chant. Whatever joys you experience, whatever association, in whichever association, however you live your life, just chant. Whichever illness you may have, or whatever pleasure you may live in, whichever path you follow, just chant. Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Prantara Śrīmad Bhagavatam ki jai, Ananta-koti Vaishnava-vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanamrita. So I wish you all a wonderful day today of remembering Krishna and his devotees.